Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You have arrived at episode number 6. John, we're at episode 6. I feel like we've been doing this for about 6 months, so I'm not sure how that adds up to the weeks. But quality over quantity, right?
Always. That's the name of the game.
Folks, if this is the first time you're tuning in and watching us, this is Overland Weekly. And our goal here is to talk about and share the people, the friendships, the events that really make up the overlanding and off-roading community. And each week or month, as it's been lately, we come on and share those with you, things that we found of interest. So interesting things this week. Everybody's talking about ChatGPT, right? It's everywhere. And I saw this video. Okay, I'm not going to play the whole thing. I'm not going to spoil it here. But this guy, he went and he basically asked ChatGPT how to modify his 4Runner, right? And so the answers were kind of like you'd expect on a real high level. It was okay, but yeah, it was great. But then as he began to push back and really try to dial it in, well, it wasn't there yet. And why is that? Well, if you don't know, that's because ChatGPT is based off this language model, which it's all this data that it's pulled across the internet for all these years. And a lot of things, when you come to vehicle modification, what does it pick up off the internet? The forums, right? Yeah. I mean, we're like 2 decades into forums now being this source of data on the internet. And so I thought, well, what if there was a better way to make this language model? So I thought about this guy, his name's Kai He, right, that runs this YouTube channel. And I said, well, I could just extract all the audio from all his videos, and then I could vectorize that and put it in like a Pinecone database, and then we could make a bot, and then we could just have a Kai bot, so we could have this new source of truth for information on how to modify your Toyotas. But that seemed like a lot of work.
Just a little.
just a little bit of work. So I said, well, maybe instead of that, we just reach out to Kai and see if he'll come on the show. So, folks, welcome to the show, Mr. Kai He. Hey, Kai.
Hey, guys. Hey, Dave. Hey, John. Thanks for having me.
So what gave you that thought process to make the ChatGPT video? Were you just playing with it like everybody else and kind of picked a topic and said, let's see where this leads?
Yeah, exactly. Because it was a very hot topic, and it got hotter by the month. And also I listened to some podcasts to explain how it works. So I kind of expect it will spit out the answers like those. So I said, why not just give it a try and make a video, because it will be a great representation of the internet. Instead of me pulling internet like forum posts here and there, this is the condensed version with a great sounding language. So I think it'll be cool. And it turns out most of the things worked out as I expected, and also I got a chance to reference some older videos, so people can see I ask these common questions and they see the common answers. Then they get a chance to really look at the more in-depth and technically sound version. So I hope this will bring value to people scrolling the internet to how to build their trucks.
I think so. And I think it'll be interesting to pull that back up a couple of years from now as the AI has evolved and the internet's evolved, and see what how those responses change over time.
Yeah, exactly. I'm very interested in that.
Maybe at that point we'll have an actual Kai bot.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah. Trademark that, the Kai bot. So for folks that are not familiar with Kai and his work and his channel, you really kind of popped up in most folks' YouTube feed if you were following any kind of Toyota or IFS or off roading, you started seeing Kai's videos about 2 years ago, about 2021, I believe your first video, Kai.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, and so back us up before that. Kind of get us up to speed on the backstory of launching this YouTube channel, and did your passion for off roading evolve? We know you've got the FJ Cruiser. Was that your first vehicle? Just kind of bring us up to speed there.
Yeah, definitely. So my FJ is a 2013, and that was my first. Excuse me. That was my first vehicle, and the funny thing is when I was shopping for that vehicle, I know I want to do some outdoor stuff, but I never think I would go serious off-roading. So I was choosing between a Subaru X-Suite Crosstrek and a FJ.
Slightly different, yeah.
Slightly.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I had photos of me test driving the XV. I think it was a white one too, and but long story short, I eventually chose the FJ, and I think that will be, just thinking back, it's a life-changing decision. If I choose the other way, I probably not gonna be where I'm at today.
Yeah, you'd probably be vaping right now.
I like that.
So,
yeah,
baby.
was this the little baby FJ?
Yeah. Yeah, you can see my first mod is plastic dip.
Trail
the
team's
wheels.
cheap.
Yeah, the grills, the bumper cover, and the mirrors, the handles, they're all plastic dip. I was really proud of that. And the wheel, I really want the trail teams, the fake B-Lock wheels, the 16, but I didn't get a trail team, so I tried to match that with the silver ring on the outside.
Nice.
So now your first kind of major mod on this, was that the Camberg kit?
No.
Okay.
The Camber kit was my third suspension setup.
Oh wow. Okay.
So I'll give you a quick background on how my progress. So probably I forgot how long since I had a vehicle. The first suspension was a Toy Tech Boss. They don't no longer make that anymore. I think it was a 2-inch shock. It's a very basic lift, but it does have threaded body, so it can adjust the ride height. So a Toy Tech Boss kit with a SPC control arm, and back then the SPC looked different. It wasn't a forged body; it was a welded body. And
but were they still adjustable then?
Correct. Yes, a similar adjustment, but just look very different.
How long did your ball joint last?
So, good question. my ball joint was the original bad ball joint without the grease fitting, but I sold that kit just a few months in before I wear out that ball joint.
Nice.
Because right after I lifted, I discover I am topping out the suspension so much because when you lift the IFS, you lose down travel, you gain up travel, your total travel remains basically the same. So that was the first time I started to question about the lifting vehicle and things. So because I have an engineering background and with training, I see this type of things very quickly. And so I said, man, this is not good. I should have get a Jeep. And that's the time I started, I have the double wishbone and the Jeep has solid front axle. That's the difference. So immediately I said, no way, I'm not living with this little down travel. I measure it's probably 1.5 inch down travel. So I switched to a Total Chaos plus 2-inch long travel. with the sway away coilover. So that was very early on. And the rest of my FJ is very stock. It has stock bumpers, stock everything. It just look odd. It's just a very stock FJ with a long travel suspension.
Sure.
And back then, not a lot of people have long travel. It was very rare. And then since I installed that, I did suspension travel measurement in the garage, and and I found a lot of there are some issues with that kit, that the way they designed it, it wasn't great. The actual travel number is way lower than advertised.
Wow.
So I upgraded. I switched to this setup in the screen. That's the camber plus 3.5. So even wider, supposed to have more travel, and the coilover is icon. And this was better, quite a bit better than the Total Chaos. But there was also some issues. So later on, I switched to the Dirt King kit, which I made a video about. That was my first YouTube video, comparing the camber and the Dirt King, comparing all the very little details, like the angle they mount the uniballs, how they handle CV axle length. They're very tiny things, but that's kind of because of my background. That's the stuff I see.
So, Kai, what year is this with the Camberg kit?
I think it was installed in 2016.
Oh wow.
Okay. So that's 2016. So the video that Kai mentioned, let me play this clip here, because you'd have to wait another 5 years for this video to come out. But let's see here.
So you made up your mind to get long travel IFS for your Toyota. The next question is, which one should you get? And are there any real-world differences between the options? In this video, we'll get nerdy into the technical details and compare two popular long travel kits. In the end, you know better what to look for your selection. And spoiler alert, there are probably more differences than you think. And let's get started.
So my question is, when you're installing that Camberg kit in 2016, was there any thought about making YouTube videos or documenting these testing processes going on then?
Not really. Back then, I think back in 2016, I wasn't very into photography and filming. It was probably way later I picked up my first camera and started having interest in taking photos. Then much later, I decided to dabble in YouTube.
Gotcha. So speaking of kind of this early documentation, there's a post that you made to the FJ Cruisers forum. What is the date on this? So November 2014. And if you read through this post, you're talking about the icons at the time, but you're really starting to ask a lot of the questions and the theory that you're discussing and documenting today. But the reaction to this post, and people can go hunt this down themselves if they want to read through it, but it was not as welcoming as the response you've gotten from your videos, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. So let's look at some of these responses here, and I've the name has been removed to protect the guilty. You're not really gaining anything. Here's my favorite part. Why are you so obsessed with down travel numbers? I mean, okay. And then this may be the best one. Park the FJ and never, ever go near it again. How did it make you feel then, and what does it feel like now looking back at these?
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, so I think I have always been someone with a very small ego, and I don't take things too seriously, and You can kind of see from my response on that thread, I'm not really upset. I kind of expect that in some way because I know how internet works, and because everyone first they want to show they are correct and basically winning arguments for the sake of winning, and then second, because you're not face to face, people usually show their darker side, their more aggressive side on the internet. So yeah, the back then I can expect some of that will happen, but I was really hoping someone with a lot of knowledge and reasons that chime in that threads and basically educate me back then, or either confirm me or tell me something I don't know. So I was really trying to learn back then. But
maybe you should go back and bump that thread. just nothing else, just bump and leave it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't gain anything from doing that. So, but now I think the thing I want is basically knowledge and seek truth. Once I know how things work, it makes me feel good. I have peace. I know what's going on. So,
Same.
yeah. So now looking back, I did all the measurements with almost 10 years of wheeling experience, going through 4 sets of suspensions, doing YouTube, documenting things. I feel confident that what I was talking about back then was legit questions, and a lot of my theories back then, even with some diagram drawn out, is the way it is. So I think for people who's watching this, I think this is a very good reminder. Excuse me, a very good reminder about how the internet works. And my goal for my channel is to people. It's not to you being better than someone else. You know better, because it's all a process of learning more and more.
Absolutely.
But my goal is to people start to realize the importance of critical thinking and reasoning and using data and evidence, and put your ego aside. It's okay to be wrong, but it's not okay if you stop learning. You think you know it all, then you'll be miserable. You're not improving. So I think this is a very good reminder to everyone using the internet. One is there are definitely misinformation out there, and second is you could be right, but you may fall in the place that everyone said you're wrong. But just focus on the truth, seek reason through with evidence, with data, and I hope eventually internet will be a better place.
Amen. Yeah. Back on your FJ, so now you've got the Camberg kit in there. Is that about the same time that your bumper began to evolve, your front bumper?
Yes. So my front bumper, this first one, I finished it. I fabricated in 2017.
Okay.
Summer 2017, which is this one, is the first prototype. I probably spent 3 years on and off in CAD designing this bumper.
Wow.
It's because I do work a full-time job, so it's usually just leisure time, and sometimes there will be months that I don't touch it. But I completely redesigned, I would say re-architect the structure a couple times to get it to where it is, where you see it. But back then I was just want to do it for myself, just do it for my FJ. I have no intention of selling or making a business or anything like that.
So no, that's interesting because and I certainly understand that just doing it for yourself and because that's what you want, because I'm going to assume that it was the cost on that first bumper was not insignificant, because you had all this laser cutting and all this CNC work that had to go into it. So you certainly could have bought something off the shelf for cheaper, but that wasn't your goal.
Correct, exactly. I think back then things are much cheaper than today.
No, that's true.
But back then, I think everything all in, it's approaching $3,000. Maybe 2,500. Because I'm not a great fabricator. I know how to weld, but that's why I don't want to spend a ton of times in the garage, like using a plasma cutter, cutting out plates and weld it together. So I want to use the state-of-the-art like CNC press brakes, CNC lasers, so everything is tight and precise. There's a lot of CAD work, but to get something set up, all the machine, the tooling set up for all the bends and all that, it adds a lot of cost. Then for welding, I'm not confident to weld a big project like this, so I paid someone, my friend, I paid him to weld it up, and at the same time there are mistakes, there are things didn't fit, so there's some redo. So overall, it was a expensive project.
Were you able to find a scan, an FJ, like a chassis scan to start with, or did you have to measure everything and go from scratch?
For this project, I measured everything. There was no scan. Back then, there was a scan. I don't know how they get it. It was a scan of a second-gen Tacoma frame, but unfortunately, it's different to
I
the
see.
FJ and Foreigner. But now, if I do it today, for people who are watching and want to do some project like this, today, 3D scanner is much, much more user-friendly and accessible. So if I'm doing it today, I'm definitely going to do a scan.
So walk us just through the rest of your build. You've got the first iteration of the bumper done. I see some wheels coming in here, gears, lockers. What happened next?
Yeah, so let me see. I think back then when I first got my bumper done, I was on 33s. So I think the next thing was 35s, these. Yeah, my first 35s are the General Grabber X3s on these. Remember the TRD wheels I was talking about? I finally got them. Yeah, so after that, I think it was front locker and rear gear. Yes, these. So I went with the East Coast gear supply route. I shipped them my differential and then sent it back.
Yep.
So I got 456 gears and ARB from air locker.
What's the factory gears on the FJ?
373 for
Oh, wow.
automatic.
That's a pretty big jump. I was thinking 456s. I have 4.3s, so I was like, that's nothing. But 373 to 456 is pretty big. So
you have the LX, right? Yeah, I think LX probably the factory gear is lower, I guess.
Yeah, it's 4.3 front and rear for 98 to 02, and then 03 to 07 has the 4.1. But the 5-speed that was introduced in 03 makes the first gear low have like a pretty substantial torque, like more torque in first low, because the first gear is much shorter than the 9802 4-speed. So yeah, I wish I had known that before buying an 02, but live and you learn.
Yeah. Yeah, the newer models all have very tall gears, so
Yeah.
Sure.
they're riding right at the edge of you had to downshift.
Yeah. Yeah. Fuel economy stuff. It's a lot of
Mhm.
fun.
Yeah, so the gears and lockers. Then after that, I think that was probably the biggest mod. Um, oh yeah, the RCV axles. Yeah, this is another caution tale for people. If you ask on the internet what's the best the axle upgrade, RCVs, that's the name, right? Everybody knows that, and everybody will recommend that. But few people actually have them. They just heard other people saying it and they will repeat it. These are definitely great for racing. That's why all the Ultra 4 guys are running them. But usually they replace part after one race. So
Yeah.
this is the first generation RCVs. They use the spherical boots. Basically, it's a Dana 60 outer joints for Jeep that's mounted on IFS. But it didn't work well at all because for a lifted IFS, the CVs always have some angles. So even I only have 2-inch lift, right high lift, pretty low lift. It still have some angle nonetheless. So these joints are just destroying them itself. They click all over the place. So I was rebuilding, and the rebuild didn't last long. So I eventually sold these to a friend, and I got the newer RCVs. So the newer RCV no longer use these boots, the spherical joint. They use a much smaller outer joint. It's identical size to the Toyota outer joint, but just with better material. But the funny thing is, after my friend got these axles, his 4th-gen 4Runner was full-time 4-wheel drive. My FJ is part-time. So driving on highway high speed, these doesn't receive any torque. But his 4Runner is full-time 4-wheel drive. So at highway high speed, it's receiving torque. So they generate so much heat. And by the way, they not receive a lot of grease, and that's for sure. But they need to be pumping grease every so often. But even we do that, he drove on the highway the first time on highway after he put them in. These heat up so much the internal actually melt. These steel actually melt and locks up his front wheels at highway speed. He almost flipped over.
Holy cow!
It was a disaster. So I feel so bad. I returned his partial money because I didn't know they would do this.
That's insane.
Yeah, for me, I was just when off-roading was in 4-wheel drive, they will click.
Right.
Even I am at an incline for a little bit, so my suspension droop a little bit. Not even at full droop, it will start clicking. But at highway speed, it's just constantly clicking with torque, and then it destroyed itself. So that's another.
I'm sorry, Kai. Are you still running the version 2 of the RCVs now?
Correct. Yeah, the newer RCV has completely different outer and inner joints. So the joint itself is better, but I think now more and more people are running them. The unanimous issue with them is the boot doesn't last. The outer boot will tear within a couple thousand miles. I have so many friends have that issue, including me. Mine is almost through. So it's a hassle.
That'd be like an easy fix. I mean, it's just
I'm surprised.
It's a boot.
So many, after so many years, that their iconic orange boot, the newer style is just like the regular CV, but doesn't last. So that's another thing for internet, right? Information. If you look on forums, you say, "Oh, RC, they're just expensive," but I would love to have them. But no.
Well, I didn't know there was two versions, so
Yeah, no,
that's another thing to look out for if you're buying them used or in the forums is which version. Yeah,
don't buy the one that
Yeah.
looks like a plunger.
Yes, that everybody said that to me.
This is exactly why I bought a part-time kit for my 100 series.
Good call.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So you're modifying the coil bucket here?
Yeah, I did this because I bent that long bolt for the UCA. I mentioned that in one of my I think my UCA video that a lot of people like to upgrade the UCA for strength. When they think they're gonna break the UCA and like snap the UCA or bend the UCA, but no, you're gonna bend something else sooner. That long bolt is one. The other one is the spindle. So the strength of the UCA body itself is not really the weakest link, so it's not very relatable for overall strength. So after I bent that, I put in these double shear, and that was another thing about the fourth gen Tacoma, the new one, because when the new platform TNGA-F came out, I think maybe they will put in the double shear in, because the Chevy is like this from the factory with a double shear. I think there are other trucks, other brands are like this from the factory, because as a mechanical engineer, that with the single long bolt through it, it just feels it's designed wrong. When I show this to my colleague, we don't make automotive stuff. They just basic mechanical engineers. They see this, they say, wow, they really designed it like this. It just feels wrong. So I put in the double shear. The lower tab is, I'm in the Northeast, so I have rust. Even I stopped driving the FJ in the winter since 2016 probably. Things still got seized up in the lower, the cam bolt, and I actually flattened one of them, the adjustment tab. So I I put in the cam tab gussets.
Yeah, I have a friend with an FJ in Tennessee that's only ever been in Tennessee, no rust, and his were seized, like completely.
Yeah.
Had to sawzall them out. It was pretty bad.
Yeah. Oh, actually, speaking of this, I also own a Honda Element for my snowboarding trip. And Honda, when I was messing doing maintenance, the Honda lower control arm in the back also have similar type of off-centered cam bolt. They have similar tabs like Toyota. It's folded, but Honda put a weld right behind that folded tab.
Jeez.
So man, Honda put it on the Element, man. Toyota, why you do it like this? And the Honda, one of my Honda, the lower arm bushing is seized. So, but I said, okay, there's a weld. I'm gonna try power through it, and the tab is hollowing out that tab. It's like digging, it's like machining it out, but that thing just will not fold flat.
Wow.
So it was so strong. So I think maybe somebody watching, you can just put a fillet weld behind the fold. It may work for you.
So what long travel kit does the Element have?
Yeah.
Factory reliability with that one, I'm sure.
That's right, exactly. It has a lot of miles.
Yeah.
So you got we've talked about here's the wheels. Tell us about the wheels.
Yes. I think it's a cool story. So when I was shopping back then, I was really looking for a set of, it's called the 6 lug TRD Rock Warrior wheels.
Mhm.
So you know that the Tundra, the second gen Tundra, has a Rock Warrior package. They have the B-lock style wheel.
Correct. The
Yes.
100 and 200 series guys fight each other for them. So
yes.
we're
Shout
familiar.
out at LX New York. He's like the Rock Warrior king. He has like 20 sets.
Oh,
I think he lived off of flipping them for a bit. Like
nice.
honestly,
They definitely can be flipped.
yeah.
So I really love that. It's 17 and it's forged. But Toyota actually make a 6-lug version for the 4Runner, and I really want that. Nowhere I can find it. So then somebody was on FJ Forum selling these Walker Evans True B-lock for a good deal. And I said, all right, I can find my dream wheel, then I'll might as well go with function. So I'll go True B-lock. And the tires here, you see, I picked up a set of used. These are was a Pitbull rocker radio. Very gnarly looking tires. That's it. And might as well go big. But these wheels, although they are also 35 by 12.5, they didn't fit because they're shoulder. Most other tires, they have like a chamfer shoulder. The shoulder kind of round over. These, the shoulder sticks out. It's like a T.
It's got a huge lug. Yeah.
Correct on the side. So it doesn't fit at all. So I went with other tires. So that's how I got these wheels. But if you see my latest video for the 4th Gen Tacoma review, you will see I finally got that TRD Rock Warrior.
Nice.
Ooh.
Nice.
Yeah, in my beginning, I was next to my FJ, and that's the TRD Rock Warrior.
Where'd you snag them?
So I'm 1 hour north from Philadelphia. I snagged him from Philadelphia, and it was pure luck. And my friend saw that, he sent it to me, and right away I said, "All right, I'm gonna get it." I didn't even bargain the price. I just went and get it.
These are mine. Thank you.
You can't, and anybody that's building any kind of vehicle knows what that's like when that thing you've been searching for hits marketplace, and you say, "I'm coming," and as soon as they confirm, you're in your car and you're on the way. You cannot wait. Yeah,
that's when you just message them address ?
Yeah. All right. Here's another. Hey, I know what I wanted to ask you, Kai. What about the name T1 Alpha? Where does that come from?
So it's T1 Alpha is a little engineering acronym. So in my corporate day job, it's we do new product development. So we'll get new parts. Usually, for example, injection molded parts. We cut a new tool. Very expensive tool, and the first batch of parts coming out of that tool is called trial 1, and we just call it T1. Everybody call it T1. So for my FJ, it's that for the products I design, it's the first prototype goes on my FJ, so it's T1, and Alpha is the first product, the whole assembly built. It's called the Alpha build, and so my FJ is my Alpha build.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. So later, you probably heard about beta build, like beta testing. So that's the second one, and then there are gamma. Gamma is basically shipping to a real customer, but it's the very initial ones. So Alpha, beta, gamma.
Nice.
Awesome.
One thing I wanted to touch on before we wrap up on your FJ is if you've been in any Toyota or just about any off-roading forum, bump stops are a hot topic, right? And like everything on the internet, there's a lot of opinions on these, and there's a lot of, shall we say, perceived or assumed information out there. But Kai, you were the first person that I've seen buy a set of bump stops and proceed to test them thoroughly. What are we looking at here?
Yeah, so this is in my day job's lab. I don't own this very expensive equipment. So this is a force displacement gauge. So basically, I can measure force, either compression or tensile. In this case, it's compression, and versus how much it moves, displacement. So I am testing basically the stiffness of the bump stop, force versus compression. So I actually got the tube that represent the axle tube. So it conforms, basically behave exactly how it will in a vehicle. And because this Timbren active bump, there are the two things I want to know. First is they advertise it's a dual rate. I want to see, does it actually have dual rate? And second is at full compression, how much taller it is compared to the factory bump stop. So because I'm running longer shocks and I need a little bit of bump stop spacer to prevent bottoming out of the shock. But if these are taller to begin with at full compression, I don't need to do bump stop extension. So that's the two things I want to figure out. And Davey, do you have the graph I posted?
I'm sorry, I don't, Kai. Well, you know
okay.
what? That's gonna. When you guys watch this, I'll put the graph up here. If Kai can talk to it from memory, yeah, we'll edit it in.
Yeah. Basically, I did confirm it does have a very distinctive dual rate. You see the two bubbles when they collapse, the kind of like the notch, the gap between them disappear when they bottom out together. It's also the same time the top bubble will be conformed into the bowl at the base of it. So all those happen kind of at the same time, and the rate will shoot up. And so, for a bump stop, when you really want a compliant bump stop, it has to grow taller because you have the same amount of energy and momentum you need to absorb. So energy is force times distance. If you want to lower the force, your distance has to go up. So the bump stop has to get longer. If you simply make a bump stop softer, it will just bottoming out and your frame become your second rate. Your rate will go straight up. So after doing this test, I also found at 1,000 pound directly on one bump stop. So basically 1,000 pound after all my spring force and after all my shock force, dynamic force, spring is static, full compression spring. So 1,000 pound on top of all those, this is 1.5 inch taller than the factory one. So I said, okay, I don't jump my FJ that often. And so I feel pretty safe that I can treat it as having a 1.5 inch bump stop spacer built in. So I didn't add additional spacer. So that maximized my up travel. Because when I was rock crawling, I was really flexed out. I won't even reach the second rate. So for rock crawling, it's definitely safe. And for occasional, just having some stupid fun, I still feel pretty safe. And I was watching my shock after this many years. I have never bottoming out my shock. So this test is basically giving me peace with data. This is the type of stuff I like doing, and I hope I can still access to this machine, but I no longer work there. So it'll be fun for doing this type of things on YouTube. But
Yeah, you
back
could-
then,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
So was the second spring rate then like a factor of construction and not necessarily a material change? It's just like it compressing into the cup and stacking on itself.
Correct. I think it's more of a geometry
Mhm.
thing, because before it's basically bending. So there's this V notch in the middle. You're bending the stuff before and after the V notch,
Mm.
and so but after they are compressed, you are then actually squishing the material.
So interesting. It's awesome.
Well,
So
it makes me feel good about my timbrance. I'll say that. Yeah.
same. I'm wondering. I took the cup off my front per the recommendation of someone, and I'm wondering now if I should put it back on because it seems to assist with the second tier of rate.
Yeah, the front timbrance look almost as tall as the factory one. It doesn't have two bubbles. It's just a single one. But that cup probably do something because it appears to be doing something on the rear. Although
Yeah.
on the rear, kind of two things happen at the same time: the cup and the space in between. So
Interesting.
So for the front, if they also advertise dual rate, then I think it's the cup probably do something.
And I think, at least for wheelers, off-road bump stops, if I were to buy one for 100s, I would buy the FJs. So I think it's the similar or same for the Timbrens. And I do know, I think Just Differential / Nitro Gear sells like a different spring rate made for 100s. It's maybe a little softer, which doesn't make sense because it's 2,000 pounds more almost, or 1,000 pounds more. So it's interesting. I'll have to look into that. So
yeah, there's a new company. Speaking of bump stuff, they're called Perry Parts.
yeah.
Yeah.
3D printed.
I've seen that name a lot lately. Yeah.
Yeah, he actually reached out to me, to ask if I'm looking to test it. I would love to, but I don't have a application that will work. So, but I'm very interested in that. The first is 3D printed parts, and it appears to be FDM, so basically layer by layer build up. And it being a bump stock, it actually holds up. From his testing, it holds up better than some molded rubber one. So I was pretty surprised. And
yeah, because there's no force this way. It's just
correct. But in the real life, the control arms all have angles, so there are definitely sideways force.
True.
And he's adopting some pneumatic thing so it's speed sensitive. That is also that's wild. And
yeah.
if I still have this type of force measurement, I would love to test that. But
would that tester be able to test at speed? Because essentially someone sent me a diagram, and at slow speeds, it doesn't move fast enough to essentially block off air holes at the top, so it'll compress further. But when it's fast, at least in my understanding, it compresses so quickly that it blocks the air holes and it is like essentially a higher rate because there's more air.
Correct. Yeah, my that particular setup cannot react that high string rate, but yeah, that once I get to, if I have access to better equipment eventually, if my YouTube channel continue to grow, I can get crazy stuff like equipment or collaborate with university or something like that.
There you
I
go.
would love to do more data-driven testing.
At the very least, you could just stick a GoPro on there and watch it.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, but that's a very interesting design.
Well, Kai, talking about designs, tell us about Tinkerer's Design Studio.
Yes.
So this is when did the name for the studio start to evolve? When did you start to think about actually manufacturing and selling products?
Yeah. This is probably around 2020. I think probably 2019 is where I started to post some more and more about my FJ on Instagram and like online. Um, so more and more people start to ask to buy my bumper, and I never had intention selling them. Um, so I was just keep putting it off. But eventually, I got enough traction that I think okay, maybe I'll start making a batch and sell them. So I did additional updates to my compared to my first prototype we saw earlier. I did actually a lot of revision. Um, then I work with a shop in Pennsylvania. It's pretty close to my house. That they do the laser cutting, the bending, and the welding for me. So that's I probably spend 1 year doing the revision for production. But that's all like after work, like the weekends after work hours. I spent a lot of time refining the design, and I think I start selling the first batch of bumper in summer. I ship out in summer 2021. Um, then so I continue to do that, and at first it was still something I think I'm gonna just do it on the side, nothing crazy, and around the same time I posted my first video on a long travel. Then the second video is the installation guide for this bumper. There was a lot of space between videos. Back then I wasn't posting much. And so back in early 2021, I was still working my 9 to 5. I was 7 years in the corporate world. So about late 2021, the long story short, I quit my full-time job and tried to make this my full-time. The main thing that pushed me is first is I start to see there is traction building with this. So I have a chance. The other one is I am turning 30s. I'm getting married. I think soon maybe I'll have a kid and become a family man. Then I probably need stability. Then that's when dreams come to die.
You don't know how perfect this timing is for John's story.
So
yeah.
And my wife actually very supportive for me doing this. She said, "Go for it, give it a try." So after a lot of thinking, and I'm a very analytical guy, I actually build up an Excel sheet with a model for financial, like how much I'm saving, like tax bracket, inflation, how much I'm getting a raise every year, then all the way to I die at 100 years old to see how much money I will have. Basically, if I do this, what will happen? If the market crash, what will happen? If I have a kids from this year to that year, what will happen to my curve? How long I have fund? And doing that exercise, it gave me a lot of perspective, because after doing that, all the data, seeing a graph changing in front of me, I said, man, this thing is not controllable. It's like a fire hydrant hose. You grab it at the end, and the other end was going crazy. Like with just like a market, annual return, it changed a little bit at the early years. The end of that curve, when I was like 90 years old, it's all over the place. I said, okay, this is not gonna help me. So I'm just gonna do the non-analytical stuff. Just go for it. So
it's awesome.
So I like my old job. I have a very good relationship with my boss, but so they are all surprised that I quit. But I told them it's personal. It's something I want to give it a try. So that even it didn't success, even I have to go back to work so I can pay my bills, at least I know I tried. So I have no regret.
It's really good advice, because sometimes you can get lost in the numbers and making sure that you'll always be covered when in reality you're not living your life, trying to eventually live your life. So
yeah,
if
exactly.
you do it now, you're at least living it.
Correct, because I was like, my dream is I save it. I'm a big saver, so I don't live a lavish lifestyle. I'm very frugal. My dream is to retire early, like the FIRE movement. Retire at 50, then I can do the stuff I want, basically tinker design. But then I'm already 50. Maybe
Yep.
I cannot even drive my Astro on the road. It's all electric then. Maybe it's all autonomous driving. I cannot even drive. Who knows what's gonna happen back then? So I think, all right, let's give it a try. So so Tinker Design is basically my product business, and I'm one person. I'm not a big dreamer. I'm not very ambitious. I just want to do my things. Like measuring bump stop, that already gives me joy.
Mhm.
I don't need to get paid that much. That I just want to do the things I like and be able to pay my bill and be reasonable and in financial. So I'm good. So I don't dream to be owning big factories, having big production lines. That kind of things stress me out. So I want to keep it small, doing niche, cool design. So Tinker Design was the first thing. But as thing goes on, the early 2022, I think 2021 was kind of like that already. 2022 is when steel pricing shoots up through the roof. So my cost, because I hire a shop do all the fabrication for me. So welding labor cost goes up. They are having a hard time finding welders, and material goes up so much. So the cost went up so much. And so for one batch of bumper, I pretty much make no money because I already sold them. Then I already took the order. Then the new quote came in. I should have take orders later, but I didn't timing well. So for a batch of bumper, I make no money. So it was desperate because I have no full-time income anymore. It's I almost feel like I can really feel how Rivian feels when they raise the price on their Rivian. But I didn't do Rivian. I honor my price. I shipped them out, and so then I had to raise my price on my bumper, so my bumper is expensive. I have to say that. So, so
Well,
later on yeah, go ahead.
Let me say this: your bumper is expensive, but it's a premium product, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, it is a niche that you want to support. You're not trying to make mass production. You're not trying to offer the great value brand of bumpers.
Correct.
And you touched earlier on your product install video, and there was something neat in that. Well, there was a lot in it, but I think it speaks a lot to who you are and who you want this company to be. And I'll show the video here in a minute. But anyone who's bought any products for their vehicle knows that you're doing good if you get an 8.5 by 11 bad photocopy of some kind of install instructions with the product, right?
Yep.
Or they just conveniently forget that, or the link on their website doesn't work anymore. We've all seen that. Or maybe they even have a video, but it's like watching it's like watching the guys on Hot Rod TV build a car. They leave out 98% of it, so the example here is most instructions, if they said anything, they would say, relocate the AC line. But
Mhm.
here's an example in Kai's video of how he addresses the installation.
Plastic clip closer towards the radiator. We will drill a new same size hole 1¼ inch from the base flange. The drill size should be 9/32 inch or 7 millimeter. Drill through the bracket at the location we just marked. After drilling, you should clean up the hole and apply some paint to avoid corrosion. After the paint is dry, snap in the plastic clip and reinstall the AC line bracket.
I have never in my life seen that much detail in an installation video. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, I think that this is I learned from my day job that to be specific and be exact, and because I know a lot of time is the person who's making the installation instruction being lazy to remain a little bit warm and fuzzy. So warm and fuzzy is something, it's a red flag in engineering. So to always be specific. So that's why I spend a lot of time in these details, but at the same time, I don't want to go too deep and keep rambling, make it uninteresting. So choosing the words, there was a lot of thoughts to choosing how I present this.
It's a tough balance.
Correct.
Kai, tell us about the logo. Tell us what's the origination or where did this come from?
Yeah, so this red logo is a Asian Chinese character. So I think for people who doesn't know much about Asian culture, so they're China, they're Japan, and Korea. That's the three big East Asian culture, and they share a lot of similar roots. Because you will see, and we're talking about Toyota, right? So we're talking about Japanese things. So Japan and China share a lot of culture, and Japan, and I'm Chinese heritage, so I always like this character. It's basically a character for craftsman. So in Chinese, it's called jiang. And in Japan, they also value this type of spirit, basically the craftsmanship, like the Japanese. I think everybody knows Japanese are great with like the katana knives, the like Toyota build quality. And actually on Nissan GTR engine is hand built by a selected, they call the master craftsmen, the technicians. And on the Nissan GTR engine badge, that's this character. In Japanese, it's called kanji. Kanji literally means Chinese in Japanese. So Japanese use Chinese character. They call it kanji. So they use it with their other word in the same within the writing. So a Chinese guy can read probably 50% of Japanese. That's kind of interesting. That's some cultural background for you. So on Nissan GTR, they use the letter on the rightmost. That's the most modern font. So I picked a older font. I forgot the years, but it's something BC, many hundreds of years BC. That's before the character evolves to what it looks like today. So I picked the older character because I like this type of culture thing, and I changed it a little bit to reshape it a little bit, make it more square, because back then they write on bamboo strips, so that's why all characters are narrow. So I kind of stretch it. I make it more of a square to add some flair to myself. So because I think I have the spirits of a craftsman. I like to be very focused. I would be get into the detail, make something perfect, very devoted. And and then I know this is the logo I want, but the name, of course, I cannot use craftsman. That's already taken.
Just a little
Well,
bit.
it doesn't exactly have the reputation that it used to anyway. So
Right, I know. Yeah. So then, in Japanese, it's pronounced Takumi, and there are some brand that's called Takumi, but Takumi it means master craftsman. It's basically you're high up here. You're the best, basically. So I want something a little more humble. So that's why I picked Tinker. So it has the same kind of feels, but it's something more humble and more approachable. So that's how I came down to Tinker.
It's awesome. I love how much thought has gone into just something as apparently simple as the logo and the name, but in reality, like there's a lot behind it, and it kind of embodies you and what you want to be and how you want to be. So it's really cool to
Thanks.
learn the background on that.
Yeah, and another cool background is to look up the Asian fonts.
Mm-hmm.
Those are like thousands years old stuff. There is a database for all the Asian Chinese characters, all the generations, how they evolve. It was actually compiled by an American. It's compiled by a white guy. So actually, I donated to his fund because I saw how this character looks like because of his website. So
That's so cool.
yeah, it's really cool. It's all culture.
Sweet. So we've talked about the bumper and the logo. Now the shift knobs, are those currently like your main product? Is that kind of what you're focusing on with the increase in bumper prices?
Yeah, so I think that's a good segue to my the story of my YouTube career. So yeah, the bumper, the price increase, and it definitely, and also with the economy, it definitely slowed down a bit. And I was working on a couple other big projects like rear bumper, skid plates, some other more advanced stuff, bigger products. But one of my issue is I spend way too much time in development. But not before I was doing it as a hobby, as it doesn't care. But now I'm doing it as a business, so I have to keep going. So, but at the same time, I don't feel like making it designing as like doing it as a business with all the cash flows and all that. Then I might as well just go back to a corporate world and do my job. And so so that's why I start to think probably late last year, early this year, that I don't think doing big products will scale nicely as a one person job.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely have to delegate and expand, which at this point I don't want to. And so I want to transition more to be from a product designer, product company that happens to make some YouTube video to a YouTuber who happens to make products. Uh, so because at the same time, I think my YouTube channel grow faster than I expected, and the product side it was just okay. So that's why I kind of pause my bigger design projects. I want to make something that I can sell more of and reach more customers because FJ just FJ people, the bumper. But the shift knob, I feel it's the easiest thing to do that can reach more customer, and it's much smaller to handle because the bumper need to ship freight that all time
Sure.
handling. This thing is much easier to handle, and it takes me much less time to develop. So that's why I came out with that series of shift knobs for all kinds of vehicles. Like David had bought one from me. Thank you, David. Thanks again.
You're welcome. Yeah.
So so this is basically my YouTuber merch. You can think of it this way.
Well, this is much more appealing than most YouTuber merch. I think we can safely say that. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, it's still kind of my tinker style. I still want to create something I'm proud of and that's unique, different. So the shape, the look is one, and then it's the patch compatible part is another unique thing, because a lot of overlanders, off-roaders like collecting patches, and I think this might be a cool way to customize. So you can get patch anywhere and you can put it on, and it's easy way to get different colors, different shape onto the shift knob, and also the screw and that trim ring. You can also customize. So that's why that's kind of my take on a shift knob product. So currently, yes, this is basically the main cash flow for me. At the same time, I'm spending a lot of more time in YouTube videos. I'm kind of pausing the big projects. I still want a rear bumper for my FJ. Currently, I'm still running the plastic one. It's very beat up, but that will be kind of my project for fun for now. So for as a business, as making a living, the shift knob and YouTube videos and like brand deals, those type of things, I think will be my main focus from now.
Well, speaking of the YouTube, so I've got some notes here. We talked before. The YouTube channel started in 21, and so here we are in 23. So just about 2 years later, 40,000 subscribers and 2 million views in that time. And so talk about that. You said that definitely exceeded your expectations. What has this kind of rush been like?
Yeah, I think for my first video, my long travel video, and I was very unsure. It's very nerdy. It's very technical. I think back then I wouldn't, probably just 6 months ago, I would never think I will even think about making YouTube my main business. But it turns out there is a audience for this technical nerdy thing. So I feel very grateful. Like people actually enjoy watching them, and there are a lot of people from comments or emails show their encouragement to me. I really appreciate those. And so so just seeing this community has they value my style and opinion, that give me a lot of encouragement. So eventually I think my channel, I would like to be more of a educational channel to if I want to grow a broader audience. That would be some YouTuber I really like are Veritasium, Smarter Every Day, Mark Rober. They basically to spread the engineering mindset to more people. Right now, I'm starting with the Toyota 4x4s. That's definitely my route. I think that's not going to change. But eventually, I think I want to reach more topic.
Well, John and I have talked before that there's a lot of noise on YouTube now. There's a lot of these really they're infomercials in disguise as product review videos. And people are tired of that. People can see through that, and there's I think there's a yearning for good solid content, and that's the niche that you bring to the table. You call it a nerdy niche, but you've got a way of explaining these topics for folks that do not come from an engineering background that I think just resonates in a real natural way. And that's your gift. So
thanks. Appreciate it.
Kai, one of the things that's interesting about your videos is the production. And I know you said like your first video was kind of nerdy. You didn't know how it was going to go, and you can definitely go through and see how your production has changed in the past couple of years. But like this clip right here, you're talking about scrub radius. And then you've got these moving graphics. So is all of this, do you do all the editing, all the graphic creation? Do you have any assistance with that? Or is this consuming a lot of time for you?
Yeah, it's all done by myself, and it definitely takes a lot of time. And also I think eventually I just kind of have to up the game more and more, because I think the important part is knowing that I am still away from where I want to be, the level of production. I think that's kind of probably it's called taste or something, that I know I am not there yet. So I'm going to keep going. Like in my latest video for the Tacoma, there's an animation for the suspension movement. I actually modeled that in my CAD, and I animated that. That's the first time doing that in CAD. Actually, it's pretty easy, and I just locked on a view. Yeah, it's basically figure things out.
But I know that's tough from not just from a design standpoint, but now when it's a business, when this is your income, and there's a time value that has to be factored in, that you would the engineer in you would love to spend another 2 hours working on that graphic, but you have to let it go at some point.
Correct, exactly. This I don't think I have found the balance yet, but maybe I'm not sure if I need to, because like I said, I don't dream to have millions of dollars. That kind of stressed me out. I think what I have now with the flexibility and the way I can really dig into something, it's already joy for me. So I'm already quote unquote retired, doing the stuff I like. So so right now, cash flow wise, I can still pay my bills. So I'm not too worried, but I am missing on, like I mentioned earlier, saving for actually when I'm 90 years old. That part I still need to do eventually. So so yeah, I think I want to, that's definitely something I keep my eye on. There are times that I will have doubt, is it worth it for this video to spend this much time? I think the longest time I spent on video is writing the script. basically coming out with the content itself before any shooting, any editing. For my videos, I script everything out. That's the only way I can make it concise enough and logically flow smooth enough. I'm not very good at spontaneous coming out. I think it will be just not direct enough to deliver those information. For example, for my Jeep versus Toyota video, that video I spent 5 days, like over 10 hours a day, just writing the script, not taking any shot, not doing any editing. So I think the hardest part is always what I should cut out. I probably usually cut out probably 40 to 50% of the stuff I originally planned, just to keep it concise. But I still need to keep enough stuff so everything is still linked together. So that is still the hardest part for me, spending a lot of time and writing the script. But I'm sure it will get better over time. I think my first video, the long travel video, but back then I was still working day job. It's just at night. So from start to finish, from starting writing the script to uploading on YouTube, it's probably 6 months.
Oh my gosh.
Right. It's the script itself take a very long time. Then shooting, that was the first time shooting a video. I don't know what to shoot. I think maybe I'll do this angle, that angle. Then shooting the talking part. I don't even know how to get the mic set up. It turns out my audio and video files are separate. I had to sync each and every clip, and there was a lot of work going for that first video. But eventually, once I kind of know that what's involved, what's happening, it definitely gets faster. But yeah, I think at this point I still spend probably too much time as a business, too much spending basically. Time is money.
I think you could consider this like your investment phase, because you're investing all the time and the money to figure out what's best and what works. And I think it'll pay off from what we've seen so far. It's incredible content.
Thanks.
And then in the future state, you could have Tinker's Adventure 2 channel and just post the 40-50% more content, the less edited, and just have bloopers and streams of consciousness and up there, so you can still capitalize on the effort but not refine it down to the general public. But I would watch all of those videos.
Thanks. Yeah, maybe we'll do a podcast style basically.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, if that language model for the KaiBot takes off, then you can use the AI to write the scripts for you, or at least give you ideas.
That'd be awesome.
So, yeah. Definitely.
Interesting.
So you pretty much learned everything that you're doing, editing wise, you taught yourself through it all.
Correct.
Dang, that's crazy.
Nice job.
Yeah, it's thank you. Yeah, it's definitely a very different experience. I would never imagine myself doing this just probably 1 year ago. I'm making YouTube a main business. Even 6 months ago, I was just very unsure. But just like how I decide to quit my job, eventually I realized the analytical part is too limited. I just cannot put it into numbers. So I said, all right, let's just give it a try.
Kai, have you had any instances yet, now that your YouTube's out there and people they know your face, they know your truck, that you're on the trail and people are like, hey, you're that guy from the YouTube videos.
Yeah, there were a couple of times I went to some off-road events. People recognize me.
That's so cool. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, I remember maybe it's been a year or so ago, and I'd seen some of your stuff, and then I was watching. There's another channel I watch, 4-Wheel Drive is Live. I guess you know
that's
those
my
guys.
friend. Yes.
Yeah, and your thing was on there, and I'm like, that's Kai. That's Kai's truck from the other channel. Like, yeah. So,
yes.
yeah. Well, very cool. Well, man, we appreciate it. You've taken the last hour and a half or so to kind of share this story with us, and
No, thank you. My pleasure.
It's super interesting and motivating, and man, we wish you nothing but a success on this journey. But I know I've got a lot of confidence in you that you're really going to turn this into something.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So before we let you go, we've got our rapid fire segment we got to hit you with.
All right.
All right. So this is just the first thing that comes to mind that you can't. There's no either or. Yeah.
One tool in your workshop that you cannot live without.
So I think I'll exclude the most obvious ones that everybody has. I think for me is that Harbor Freight hydraulic table.
Ooh.
That you saw me
Yeah.
use a couple of times cycling suspensions.
You've done a lot of use out of that, yeah.
Yes, and I mean, without that, a lot of my contents would not exist. And also for my FJ with 35s and true B-lock wheels, I physically cannot lift a wheel up to the truck. I had to use that.
What's your rotational mass, like per wheel? Like how much does it weigh?
Just the static weight, the static mass is 115 pounds.
Wow. You've got 15 on me. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and just the shape of it, I could not lift it. I think if I just broke down the trail, I have to have a second person to help me. Otherwise, I'm gonna be staying there.
You don't just strap the table on the roof?
He's got to swing out for the Harbor Freight table. Yeah. All right, Kai. Your your go-to camping meal.
So this will be a very weird one. My favorite camping meal is a chunky soup in a can, and I eat it cold.
That is very weird.
Like just a Campbell's chunky can, and you just pop the top and dig in?
Exactly. I think my favorite is the corn chowder. I will eat it cold.
Now, is the cold
that
a
is
convenience?
Unexpected.
Is the cold convenience, or is it do you prefer the flavor or the taste? I guess what it's called.
I think both. I feel I'm kind of. This will be a little weird when I camp out. And when we go camping at Overland, we are basically role playing. We don't do it out of necessity.
Right.
So I'm taking role playing to the next level. I'm thinking I am desperate in the wild. I have to survive. I'm surviving. So I'm eating it cold. It makes me feel like I'm surviving.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I get it. Wow. I could make real food, but I'll eat freeze dried food just cause, you know. All right, next question: e-lockers or air lockers?
I do air.
Yep, I agree.
So the Toyota e-locker. So there are the different e-locker. The Toyota e-locker, and there's the magnet style e-locker. The Toyota style, I think it's not great because it's a rack and pinion. It takes a lot of time to engage and takes a lot of time to disengage. And it has a feedback loop. There's detection sensor where it moves. Did it get into position? Then another light came on. It's just too slow. And I have seen so many foreigners in the Northeast with a seized e-locker, almost as much as the Jeep guys with broken sway bar disconnect. It's not Toyota level, like it's not reliable.
Interesting.
Yeah, the air locker it's mainly it's open loop. It doesn't need a feedback, and for air, when the air pressure in, the benefit of air or hydraulic stuff is you can apply force without displacement. It's not linked. You can just put the force there. Once it get into position, it automatically goes in. So you can have that benefit. So the magnet style e-locker is kind of somewhere in between. It can apply the force. Then as you rotate, there's the balls with the ramp. It ramps up and engage some pins. So similar things. I think I prefer that better than the Toyota ones with the rack and pinion with control loop. But I think the air locker is a little cleaner. There are a lot of people with installation issues with air leak. And I think that kind of gets a bad rap on air locker. People think it will just leak. But I think most of it is installation, and my air locker has been great for many years.
Well, my reasoning wasn't so methodical from an engineering standpoint. It's just that I've watched so many of those Australian four-wheel drive videos, four-wheel drive 24/7, and all of those, and they all run the ARBs. And I said, that's it. That's what I'm going with. Yeah.
Yeah. Those guys are hardcore.
Yeah. All right. So you're in the Northeast. You've got these bead locks. What is your go-to tire pressure?
You mean when off-roading?
Yep.
I do 11.
11.
Could you do that pre-bead lock?
Yeah, I just need to be careful.
Yeah, it's right there on the line. Yeah.
I see plenty of people do that. It's almost as a matter of luck. I think the only times I saw debeading, those guys are way higher pressure. And many times I've seen people non-bead locks running low pressure are fine. Like all day, pretty hard wheeling. So it's pretty, you're just taking a chance.
Last question. New Tundra, new Tacoma. Which one?
Oh, definitely new Tacoma.
Yeah?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Even after your realizations from the last video. If people don't know what we're talking about, they need to go to your channel and watch your Tacoma video.
Yeah, I think even then the Tacoma is I like it. The sway bar disconnect is a big one for me. Like for my FJ, I have no front sway bar because the long travel I cannot have a front sway bar. If I put the price, I'm willing to spend $2,500 to have a true front sway bar disconnect that fits my long travel, and the new Tacoma has that from factory. I need to get longer control arms and all that. That I was a little disappointed, but that sway bar disconnect was great, and also the size and just the mid-sized truck. I like that over the Tundra.
Cool.
Makes sense.
All right. Well, thank you again, Kai. I'm sure everybody knows where to find your channel. It's Tinkerer's Adventures on YouTube, and then the website is Tinkerer's Design Studio.
Tinkerdesign.com.
Tinkerdesign.com. There you go. All right. Thanks for joining us, Kai. It's been great, and see you, everybody.
Thank you very much. Yeah.